All right. We can proceed to our presentation for tonight. Like I said, one small welcome to tonight's lesson. We're going to be looking at the fundamentals, understanding the fundamentals of project management. So from there, we'll start building and targeting deeper. So yeah, this is where we stopped last night. So what?
You can start recording, sir.
We're already on recording. Thank you for reminding me.
Welcome.
All right. So let's get started with the project life cycle. When we talk about fundamental, we talk about the key things, first things we need to understand when we're starting a project as a project manager or a project team member. What are the first thing? So the first thing we need to understand is the life cycle. Projects have a life cycle, and we need to understand that life cycle. The life cycle, even if you go for an interview as a project manager, they will want to understand if you really understand how project works as a life cycle. And this is key. Project starts from the conception, initiation. You know, call it initiate. You need to initiate the project and follow up by definition or planning. Then we'll have project execution. So when you launch the project, that means the time you start executing the project. And then we'll have performance monitoring and control. And we'll have closure. So under the first, we have to do the feasibility studies, capture requirements, do all the necessary scaffolding. That is when we're initiating the project. To understand the problem we're about to solve, or the value we are trying to create, or the change we are trying to bring about with the project. And these are where the business analysts will start running around, capturing requirements, trying to justify the reason why this project should go on. This is what we call initiation of the project. And as a project manager, you have some of the things that you need to do. At the end of the day, the project manager will come up to create a project charter if the project is approved. If the project is not approved, after initiation, at times we call it discovery stage or initiation stage. The senior managers or the stakeholders can say, no, we are not starting this project. And you see the project will die there. The project will not move on from there. And there is no need for creating a project charter because the project, maybe the business analyst didn't come up with a strong case. The business analyst didn't present a strong business case, business justification why the project should start. But if the business analyst, convinces the stakeholders and the project is starting, maybe the business analyst have a strong business case and the business case is approved, the next thing is to create a project charter, authorization for the project to start. And that's why they're giving the project manager authority to start executing and doing other things. And then the project will set into planning because it's now approved. Then we'll start the normal planning. The planning will start from the project manager trying to understand the budgets, the scope, breakdown, create a breakdown structure, use a Gantt chart, use a different technology to create a project plan and create a risk management plan. These are within the project management, project manager's point of view. We are not, business analysts at this stage have their own deliverables. We are not going to talk about business analyst deliverable at the planning stage. We are not going to focus on project manager's deliverable. What is project manager doing at this particular period? All this listed down. And then after planning, we start execution. Execution is when we are building a software. That is when we are now bringing in the developers. They start building, and the project manager will start tracking, you know, doing all sorts of things to make sure that the project is in order. That is the execution. And from there, we come to performance control and project performance monitoring and control. At this point, the project manager will start monitoring. As a matter of fact, the monitoring and control encompasses the whole life cycle. So the project manager will continue to monitor and control, you know, making sure that the project is on track, looking at the budget, looking at the timeline, looking at the performance, quality deliverables. These are all what the project manager will be looking around, you know, monitoring all the team members. Are they doing what they are supposed to do? Are we still in track? Are we going above the time? Are we going above the budget? These are monitoring and control. Is this deliverables quality enough? Is it within the standard or within the acceptance criteria? The project manager will do that. And after then, we come to project closure, where the project manager and other team members will bring different deliverables. Project manager will bring a closure report. The business analysts will bring their own report, and they will officially close the project. So this is what we call project life cycle. You can see that projects have stages. At fifth, some people try to make it 4. Some people remove this because you might over time you start seeing 4 stages in project life cycle. Some people do it as initiation, planning, execution, and closure. And then this number 4, which is monitoring and control, will wrap around everything, because even at this inception, you continue to monitor and you continue to control. So, but some people try to bring out this control because it's very important. So if you don't see control, monitoring and control is still in order. It depends on how you want to approach your own project. So this is what we call life cycle in projects. So let's look a bit in details about some of the things or deliverables that need to be captured through out the project life cycle. When we come to initiation, this phase involves the project objectives, scopes, feasibility, and key activities include the following: conducting a feasibility studies to assess the project viability. These feasibility studies, actually, who does that? Is the duty of the business analyst to conduct a feasibility studies. You work with the project manager to conduct these feasibility studies. Where you capture requirements, you do requirement analysis, apply all the analysis involved, and write a report. That report is what we call business case, you know, and after the business case will be submitted to the stakeholders or the the project key stakeholders here. And from there, the key stakeholders will approve or decline. Once they approve, the project will kickstart. But if they don't, the project will cease to exist. So the business analyst, both the project manager, trying to collaborate with the stakeholders. At this point, you try to identify stakeholders and their requirements. So the business analyst and the project managers, you have to identify the stakeholders, capture their requirements. We use what we call requirement gathering or data collection. You can call requirement gathering data collection. You can call it elicitation. Once you capture all these requirements and do the analysis, the business analyst will get business case approved, and the project manager here will now work on developing project charter to authorize the project and appointment of project manager. So these are key areas the project managers will be playing key role. The project manager will involve in feasibility studies, but the project manager will not be doing the analysis. Will not be doing requirement gathering. That's why I'm not capturing it here. When we get to business analysis, we will still meet this stage, this life cycle in business analysis. And then you will see the deliverables for business analysis. But here, the project manager will only involve in feasibility studies, identifying stakeholders and their requirements, and working on developing a project charter that will authorize and appoint him as a project manager on that project. So this is what we need to do at the initial stage of every project. Then we'll come to planning. By this time, at the planning stage, the project is already approved. The business project charter is already authorized and approved. So it's a detailed stage where we'll start creating the technical requirements, breaking project into manageable stage using work breakdown structure, creating a project plan, identifying and assessing risk. You need to create risk plan, establishing communication and reporting channels to facilitate effective project communication. So these are the key things here the project manager will focus on doing. At this stage as well, the business analysts, they have their own deliverables at this stage. Their deliverables are mainly creating business requirement, technical requirement, converting business requirement to technical requirement, such as writing user stories, acceptance criteria. And this, I'm talking about IT project management. So this is the stage, but still, like in other areas like construction, you can still, the project manager will still be here to, outline the project objectives, scopes, schedules, budgets, quality requirements, develop a work breakdown structure. After a breakdown structure, the next thing is there, from a breakdown structure, you can convert the work breakdown structure into a full project plan where you've added the timeline, the budget on it. But the first thing is to create a work breakdown structure. So work breakdown structure is a scaffold or a skeleton of a project plan. After then, you need to have very key, important risk plan, identifying and assessing project risk and developing mitigation strategies. You need to develop this on time to make sure that you have risk plan handy before you go deep into the project. Then establishing communication and reporting channel. Communication is very key in project management. If you don't have good communication, these are what some reasons why some stakeholders over time start getting angry, start being supporting the project because they feel they are not being communicated enough, they feel they are left out, they feel they are not carried along. All of us know in a project that you feel you are a stakeholder and you are not carried along, you are not being communicated very well, you don't know what is going on, you are not going to be happy. So you need to have a good communication strategy, communication plan, in order to make sure that the project is very smooth. In this our project, if we don't have good communication plan or strategy, it's going to be difficult for us. That's why we have different communication channels. And when I'm telling you people, we created a WhatsApp forum and groups. It's not enough. That's why we still have a backup. We go to Facebook, we have another backup. Then even in our course portal, we have your emails and other things for communication. So these are various communication channels. You see, our course portal can crash and we lose all the data there. Although it's not going to happen because we're always backing up our this thing. Or you can see that Facebook is an application. What if Facebook all of a sudden,
when you're done, you tell them.
And everything.
Mute yourself.
So how do we have contact? How do we communicate? But if WhatsApp is having challenges, we can continue our communication via Facebook. So there is need for effective communication channels in project management. But in most cases here, we have a project management communication applications. We have something like Microsoft Teams. We have Basecamp. We have Asana. We have Monday.com. These are other areas we do communicate. And a project manager outside all this should have communication documents like stakeholder register, where you have all the names, you have all the contact details, method of reaching all the stakeholders, their preference for communications and things. You must have this document. We're going to discuss about all these documents in details when we are going to look at various documents and deliverables. After planning, the next thing is to start the execution. So planning is putting everything in order, all the requirements, making sure that everything we need to build this software or to build this product or to build this house is ready. When we are happy that we have enough documentation to get us started, we start the execution. And during the execution, well, depending on the method we are going to use, most of the time in software development, we use agile methodology for execution. So this is the time we bring in agile methodology. So many people in project management are doing a combination of waterfall and agile methodology. So throughout all this time we are planning, we are using waterfall to plan all this. From initiation planning, you use waterfall. But during execution, we switch from waterfall to agile methodology, where we create a Scrum team, we have Scrum Master, we have developers, and this is where we start building the product we are meant to do. And at this point, what are the key activities for the project manager? The project manager starts mobilizing project resources. including personnel, equipment, and materials, implementing the project plan and managing project tasks to ensure that they are completed on time and on budget, monitoring project progress and performance against the project baseline, managing changes and addressing issues that arises during the execution. So, as a project manager or project coordinator who is assisting the project manager, this is the area you will be, engaging, what you will be doing at this particular stage, execution stage. Then we have engaged some personnel. Personnel here are developers, like testers, designers. Everybody will be working, and you will be, monitoring them against the plan. You have a project plan already, so you use your project plan to be monitoring what they are doing. You have the time you allocated to every task you assign to them. You use the project plan to be monitoring. Are they going above the budget? Are they going above the timeline? These are the things you'll be monitoring. What is the standard of the outcome of their deliverables? Is it in line? What is the baseline? Is it within the baseline or is it below? These are things you'll be working on. Baseline here is very, very important. Creating a baseline as a benchmark for measurement. When you say performance, performance is all about measurement, measuring a situation against a standard or against a baseline. So that's what you'll be doing. In so many cases, there will be changes. If there is changes, you have to manage changes, addressing issues that arises during the project. These are some of the risks that you will be looking out for. You have a risk plan. This is the time you have to be using all your risk strategy, risk plan, risk register. You must have a risk register. In our case, I normally use a document called, or strategy or techniques called RAID log. So we use RAID log to capture every risk, every issue, every dependency, and every dependency. So I use RAID log to capture all these issues, address them, assign them to their respective owners. So this is what we'll be doing at this stage. This stage is very, very key. That is why we've decided to attach this number 4 stage of the life cycle, which is project performance monitoring and control. In this performance monitoring and control, is crucial for ensuring projects stay on track and meet their objectives. This is the involves continuous oversight, adjustment throughout the project life cycle, maintenance of quality, schedule and budget adherence. You must adhere to your budget. Is very key. If you go above your budget, it's like a disaster. So, and these are key areas or key components you need to focus while monitoring and control. These are major things you should be doing as a project manager. You must focus on these particular key areas. From this A to G, you must focus on them, understand them very well, how it works. Number 1 is you must know how to establish a baseline. Define project scope, schedule, and budget as a baseline. You must have a baseline for time. You must have a baseline for the scope. You must have a baseline for time. So all these are baseline. We talk about 3C constraints yesterday. So you must have baseline for all these 3 C's, which is a scope, budget, and time. You must have baseline for all of them, making sure that you are not going above all this. You can't go above your budget. You can't go above your timeline. You can't go above your scope. And this is at times a situation happen, like we are saying yesterday, we are discussing yesterday. A situation happen that you can go above your budget. A situation happen that out of your control, you see yourself going above the timeline. But you can address that using exceptional circumstances. During COVID-19, a lot of people are working on projects, and all of a sudden, the government across the world start shutting the whole city. Everybody's not going out. So this is exceptional circumstance. And this thing lasts. So if you are working on a project and situation like this arises, everybody understand that it's not because you are incompetent, but it's because of a situation beyond your control. So these are areas where you can go above your baseline. But when something like this happens, you create what we call exceptional circumstance that should be approved. So what the hiring manager will be looking at is not, but how do you handle such situation? Do you just leave it, or do you say no, because I don't want to go above my, they want to understand how are you going to handle a situation like this. You just use exceptional circumstances to address the issue and officially get approval, either to extend the timeline or to give you more money, increase your budget. And when this is happen, you create a new baseline. A new baseline have to be created. You can't be using the original baseline. You must, so as long as you are shifting moving from the original baseline, a new baseline must be created, backed up by authorization and necessary approvals. Then regular progress tracking. You need to monitor actual progress against the planned milestone and deliverable. It's still part of the baseline, but it's something you need to be regularly monitoring. At this point, you might not be creating any developmental work or building anything, but you have to be monitoring what everybody is doing. You know, we have softwares we use for this. When in some of these softwares, you watch them against, if there is like if you have good knowledge of Microsoft projects, if you are going above line, you see some of them will be indicating red danger for you. These are some of the dangers you'll be watching out. But we are coming to some of these tools. When we get to the tools we are going to be using, we will see how we are going to use some of these tools to monitor and control projects. Then quality assurance is very important. If we don't have a quality assurance person, you have to be doing, even if you have a quality assurance, you have to be working with the quality assurance manager to implement process to assess and ensure that quality of the project deliverables is within the standard. So it's your duty, even if you have somebody doing this, somebody who is the owner of this particular area, it's your duty as a project manager to make sure that the proper quality is captured. So you are accountable for everything that is going on in this project. Then we'll have risk management still within the monitoring and control. You need to identify risk before it becomes an issue and mitigate it. You must have a plan of how you want to mitigate your risk. Either you accept the risk or you transfer the risk. Whichever way you must have a risk plan. So we are going to look at some of these strategies when we get there, like how we can use RAID to manage risk, or how we can use risk register to capture risk, and various risk mitigation strategy. It's either accepting the risk or transferring the risk, and some of them. So you must manage a risk very well to minimize the risk impact on the project. A risk is unforeseen circumstances, but it can be mitigated, it can be diverted, it can be controlled, or at worst, you can accept the risk. But even if you're accepting the risk, you must make sure that it's not having a serious negative impact on the project. That's why at some point, a project needs to have a proper insurance policy in a project. So if the project doesn't have insurance, when we are doing this insurance is a way of transferring the project risk. So then another key issue is resource allocation or resource management. Part of the monitoring and control is to allocate and manage resources effectively to prevent bottleneck and shortages. If you don't have enough resources, you will have shortages and you will have a bottleneck. But you must plan your budget. It's key that you must have a contingency plan for budget. If you are giving £10,000 to manage a project, as a good project manager, it's very important that you try as much as you can to plan everything within £7,000, and you keep 3,000 for contingency, unforeseen, so that if there is a situation, you can still fall back within that 3,000 and continue managing. But if at worst everything happened that even the whole contingency plans is swallowed, then you have to go for exceptional circumstances. But the line manager must have seen the effort you put in place to make sure that you control the risk. So it's good to know how to manage your budget. Budget is resources, and make sure you don't have shortages. Then change control. You must evaluate and manage changes to project scope, schedule, or budget to maintain alignment with the objective. Like we've said, we've discussed already, everything is about risk. When we talk about change control, it means that when there is change against the original plan, what are the measures you have in place? So you must have a change management plan in place. And I keep talking about having risk management in plan and exceptional circumstance. If there is a situation that is out of control, before the project kickstart, you must have, because these are things that normally happens in projects. So you must have exceptional management strategy in place to manage it when this kind of change occurs, because it happens very often in projects. What you didn't budget for, what you didn't bargain for, will start happening. Then you must make sure that your communication is very smooth, just like we say. Foster transparent communication among stakeholders to address issues promptly and keep all parties informed. Everybody must, let me use Nigerian language, must be in the same page. So if everybody is in the same page, you find out there's no stakeholder is going to be angry. So you must keep everybody informed. Everybody, there must be what we call transparency, transparent communication. And that's why we have some of these softwares we are using. So they keep everything on check for us. And every communication, we see every communication as they are flowing. If we are using something like Basecamp, you see so if we are using a situation where we are using Basecamp for for project management, you find out that there is a way you can put every stakeholders, they are going to be part of the project, although they are not contributing anything, but all the information flowing, they have access to the platform and they are seeing everything that's going on. It's a very good way to keep everybody informed about what is going on. And you must equally have a plan for your communication. We've spoken about this so many times within this training. Communication plan is very important. And we come to closure. In the closure phase, the project is formally completed and the project deliverables are handed over to the stakeholders. They include the following activities: conducting a project closure meeting to review project achievement and lesson learned. Throughout the project, there's documents we call lesson learned. At every stage, when we start a live project, these are some of the things we'll be keeping. Every week, we'll have to have a meeting called READ. We'll have a lesson learned meeting where we'll have a meeting to capture the lesson learned, our challenges, our mistakes, and then we'll address them. So at the closure of the project, we'll have to look at the achievement and the lesson learned, obtain formal acceptance of the deliverables from stakeholders. This is what the business analyst normally does. Business analysts obtain acceptance, issue acceptance document to the stakeholders and get them sign it when they are happy. So if the stakeholders are happy with all the deliverables, they will, approve by assigning the acceptance form. Then closing out the project contract and financial account, duty of the project manager, documenting project closure report and archiving the project documentation for future references. This is the duty of the project manager. The project manager will officially write a project closure report. And after writing the report, all the documents, all the files that is related to this project will be officially moved to the project repository. We call it project repository, where you archive it for reference purposes. And that is how you officially close the project, and you call a party for your team to celebrate, because it's not easy to finish a project. So this is the full, when we talk about full project life cycle, these are stages you are going to be passing through as a project manager, doing either one of these activities or the other till the project comes to a conclusive, happy ending. So the conclusion is understanding the project management life cycle is essential for effective managing project from start to finish. By following structured approach and adhering to the key phases from initiation, planning, execution, closure, project manager can increase the likelihood of project success and deliver valuable outcome to stakeholders. So thank you for this. So we've successfully captured the project life cycle. Now, with this insight, you should know what stands before you. If they call you up tomorrow and say you are a project manager, you can quickly run to this life cycle and start looking at it. What am I going to do at it? So, but when we are going to start our project, we're going to bring a document that will be guiding us. So we are going to look at all the documentations we need thoroughly. That's what the next thing we are going to be doing, is to understand various documents, project management documents and deliverables. We'll have them, we are going to look at them like here, but for tonight, we are not going to cover them for tonight because of time. So this is what we are going to be looking at. Like I said, on Saturday, we're going to have another session. We're going to be looking at project management documents and deliverables. We need to see these documents, how they look like, how to produce one. And all these documents you are seeing is what we are going to be using throughout these 5 stages of project management lifecycle. That is what makes you a project manager. Writing certification exams, being satisfied this and that does not make you a project manager. What makes you a project manager is that you know how to create all these documents. You know how to use tools and various other things. You know what to do at every stage in a project. Or some of us will always say, what certification will I do? After doing certification and they tell you what is the full project, what are you meant to do at every stage in a project life cycle? You don't know, but you have a PMP certificate. No. Or you are so these are, you must pay very attention to all these and the documentation. These are key in project management. So at this point is to take questions from you. So I'll take questions, and then because I have another class by 8:30. So I'll take questions to some extent. We're not gonna be taking questions till up to 8:30. So let's start taking questions, and then we can I can address your question before the time. So
Okay, good evening, sir. I have a question.
you raise your hand, please, and I'll take it from who raises hand first. Okay, Confidence, your question, please. Ogechi, your question, please.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, sir, for this insightful class. My question is about if during the project, in the course of running the project, and maybe a team member is defaulting or not meeting, getting to meet the deliverables, how are you supposed to go about that as a project manager?
Yeah, if a team member is not meeting, these are some of the risks in project management. So you must have a plan. What do you do is going to be part of the risk strategy or risk plan you have. How do you handle a situation like that? Because we know that so many times a team member will start either that they don't have enough skills, or they are having a kind of challenges, maybe mental health or things like that. So in a situation, you need to approach the team member as a project manager to understand the situation using empathy. Try to put yourself in the team member's shoe to open up to understand the challenges. If the team member is not skilled enough to do that, you can put the team member on training to upskill the team member. If the team member is having challenges like emotional challenges, having issues with the maybe husband or the wife or the girlfriend or the boyfriend, you find a way to be there. And but you need to be professional anyway. But that's why I say using empathy. That is how you address such issue. You can't just fire a team member because he's not performing. Because if you are going to fire all your team members, and these days, even project managers doesn't have a right to fire a team member. So all you need to do is try to see how you can start supporting them. You need to support them. But if the team member is just being careless, everybody knows he's careless, then you take it up using a disciplinary action that is within the organization. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Oyemimpe Akinlabi.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, sir. My baby just woke up. Let me just, maybe another person should talk, please.
Okay,
Let me attend to
Justina
my baby.
Isaac.
Sorry.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Charles. Thank you for the wonderful class. Please, my question is this. Between the two methodology project management that you listed, that is the Agile and Waterfall, which is most applicable to the people in the humanitarian sector, that is the NGOs? Thank you.
You can use any of them, depends on your preference. So you can use, depends on the kind of project that NGO. I don't work in NGO. I don't know the kind of project, but I know in NGOs like is maybe event management and yeah, something like that. I don't think it would it, but I know in NGOs, so many of the NGOs, they have a CRM system, they have an ERP system. These are ITs within the NGOs. So it doesn't matter, like the kind of technology banks are using is the same thing NGOs will be using. Bank will be using CRM system, NGO will be using CRM system as well. Bank will be using ERP system. So like I say, it depends on the kind of project, but Agile methodology, you can use it anywhere. You can even use it in your house for your cooking. Waterfall as well, you can use it, depends on preference. And secondly, it depends on what the organization wants. But because when you are joining a company, they must have had their own standard, which you cannot come there to change. And that's why it's good for you to have diverse knowledge of both Agile methodology and Waterfall, so that whichever one they are using, you follow whichever one they are using. You know, so that is the answer to that. So there is no specific project management methodology attached to NGOs. All of them uses software. But in terms of software development, I would say I prefer, because I don't know which one you prefer. I prefer, and most of the companies I've worked, they use and they prefer using Agile methodology. Although it's not easy to use Agile throughout. That's why we're combining Agile and Waterfall. We call it Wagile.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
And then Bridget.
Hello.
Hello,
Madam,
sir. Good evening, sir.
Madam, we'll bypass you. We don't have
No,
time.
no, I'm
You know?
here. I'm here,
Sorry,
please.
sorry.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Charles. Now, my question is this. I actually have two questions. The first is, you mentioned that at the closure of a project, the project manager now hands over the deliverable to the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? That's one. Then the second one is, who does the budgeting of a project? Because you mentioned that a project manager, when you talked about resource management, that let's say the project is budgeted to be £10,000. The project manager works according to that budget in resource management. So who is responsible for doing the budgeting of that project?
During the initiate stage, the business analyst will do feasibility study and come up with estimated budget for a project. So that's what the business analysts do. Business analysts do solution evaluation, looking at the project they are trying to solve, the business analyst will do the analysis to understand how much it's going to cost to develop that kind of solution or to implement that kind of solution within the organization, taking into consideration the size of the company, knowing if the company can afford it. So with that, we'll have what we call estimated budget, and that's what the business analysts, for some of the analysis they conduct. So it's part of their listing. The project manager, once that is done, both the project manager or even the business analyst and the key stakeholders will decide how much it's going to take to implement this. So let's say, for instance, we want to implement a CRM solution. We have different CRM solutions in the market and at different costs. So if the business analyst, after the analysis, solution evaluation, and so we are going to implement Dynamics 365 CRM solution, the business analyst will come up with the cost and the number of people that will be part of the project. And from there, we'll come up with a budget. Then the project manager will make sure that that resources is well utilized and allocated. The project manager will break the project into stages and start allocating the resources to the tasks and deliverables to make sure that that money is used within the project and within the time frame. So the other question is that who is the stakeholders? Everybody that have interest in that project is a stakeholder. Even the people using the project, they are stakeholders. But when we talk about key stakeholders or major influential stakeholders, they are the people that are financing that project, who is bringing the money. He is the key or major stakeholders. If it's a client, maybe you are working for a client, the client is the key stakeholder. Or if you are working within the organization, is an internal project, who is the initiator? Is it the finance manager that initiated the project or bring the idea? That person is the key stakeholder. So with this, you know who is the stakeholder. But even the person using the project is a stakeholder. And indirectly, your wife is a stakeholder, because if you want to go to work, indirectly, I said indirectly, if you want to go to work, your wife might say you are not going to work today, and you have a key major meeting. So everybody that is have a kind of the project is being affected in one way or the other, or have interest in that project, is a stakeholder. So
Thank you so much.
What we get to stakeholder management, we will look deeply into who is a stakeholder, both who is an organizational stakeholder or who is a project stakeholder. We'll talk about that in details when we start approaching those areas. So we have Bridget, be fast.
You've answered my question, sir.
Okay, Miracle.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I have a question. You said there are tools for project management, like you mentioned Asana, you mentioned Monday OI, if I got it correctly. So I don't know if
Monday.com.
okay, Monday.com. I don't know, are we going to have a practical section where we can walk around the
I
tools?
told you
Because some
that
of
we
us
are
just
coming.
say-
What I said is when we get to there, we will do that.
okay, sir.
All right.
When we get to,
Good evening, Mr. Charles. Can I?
when we get to tools in project management, we are going to do that. If you look at the cost structure, you can see there is area where I said project management tool. So I don't know. Some of you do not even study a cost structure curriculum. You just come here and jump in and jump out. You should have a clear look at your curriculum to understand what is coming next. It's very important. So we are going to have an area we are going to be testing. These are where some of you will be, I will be having assignments. It's very, very important for us to have all these practical sessions. I'll have opportunity for us to know how to use some of these to manage projects. So don't worry, because we are going to be using them very soon. So,
all right, sir. Can I ask a question,
it's
sir?
not your time, my friend. Stop jumping queue, or I will take you out of here. You have to be disciplined. Kalista and Joko.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay, so my question is with regards to documentation. When do you begin documenting your project, the project data? Is it from the first stakeholders meeting, or when before the project, maybe you have finished the first stakeholders meeting, now you want to go into the project proper? Is that where you start documenting? Let me just cite an example. I have a building project that I want to do. Is it when I meet the owner of that building to talk about it, or is it after, when we've already drawn up the budget, like the schedule, the work schedule? Is that where I start documenting, or do I start from the first meeting to document? That's my question, sir.
So we have what we call, which we just finished presenting, project life cycle. Documentation start from the day you start that, the first day you join that project. That is when the documentation starts. As a business analyst, as a project manager, you are kickstarting a project. Let's say during the project kickoff meeting, you need to understand all what we call project brief. Is a document. This is where the documentation starts. You have to review to understand the document. The document, that is the first document you start working with. Understanding what the stakeholders want. Then you need to assemble the project team. During the assembling the project, these are within the initiate stage. You need to assemble this project team. To assemble the project team, you need to create a document to make sure that every team members understand their roles and responsibilities. We use RACI metrics to do that. This is a document. So every task in a project must come out with a deliverable. And it's not just a meeting, you come, how are you? I'm the project manager, see you guys. No. Everything, so the project, the documentation starts from the day you join the project. So that's why you, as the project manager, you must understand the document you have to create at every stage. That's why I created, in a life cycle, there is every task that need to be done within the, in initiate life cycle, the initiate stage. We can have up to 10 tasks that will be done within that stage. Every task, you must create a document. And even if you are not the one creating, you, the project manager, you are monitoring to make sure that whoever is responsible in delivering the task must come out with a document. So you monitor them to create documents. You might not be creating a lot of, you will be creating documents as well, but you might not be creating a lot of documents. You see, business analysts will be creating a lot of documents. You have to work with the business analysts to make sure that they are producing the necessary documents they need to produce. So the answer is that documentation starts from day one, and documentation ends at the last day you are going to create the project closure report. That is the last document you are going to create as the project manager.
Sir, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, Riike, you people should be careful with the names, so you Riike or whichever one you call yourself, it's your turn. Riak is not here. Okay. Edith Ugu.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
My question goes to when you were explaining project baseline. There's a project that we are undergoing in my company, and each time the CEO keeps asking the project manager that he has yet to see the project baseline, and it seems a Herculean task to the project manager. Please, can you throw more light on it? How do we determine a
like I
baseline
say,
in a project?
Baseline is a standard, a benchmark. Like he says CEO or CFO.
CEO.
Okay. So
the owner of the fintech company.
okay. The baseline here, like I said, we have triple constraints in project management. This triple constraints, like I said, which I say you should cram it, not just cram it and understand it as well. Number one is the project's scope. Number two, we have a budget, the amount of money that I mean to spend in that project, and the timeline. So when we talk about baseline, if it's 6 months, 6 months should be the baseline, the time period, timeline for that project to complete. Because a project cannot last forever. The CEO must know when he's expecting that project done. You know, that's why he's demanding that you come up with a baseline. What is the timeline? And you cannot leave an open budget. It means that you just keep spending and spending and spending. So you must come up, you must have a budget. Every project must have a budget. If you come up with a budget, the CEO knows what is in the company's account. If the company doesn't have enough money to implement that project, they can say, no, we can't afford this at this moment. So you must come up with a clear budget, not let's be going now and we'll see how far. No, it's unprofessional. You must come up with a clear budget so that when you are demanding more money, the CEO will say, for what? What is the money for? And if the project is 6 months, the CEO is expecting that you come and present the closure report and tell them, the stakeholders, how the project went. But if you are not coming, then if you are losing your job, it will be obvious why you are losing your job. Not because the CEO is wicked, but because you are incompetent. So that is baseline. Baseline is all about benchmark. You can use benchmark if your baseline is too technical. But as a project manager, this is the word we use, baseline. So you get it and work with it. So we have
all right, thank you, sir.
Hilary Ebo.
Hello, good evening, sir. My question goes this way. How are you able to ascertain the risk involved in a particular project, and how do you manage that risk? That is what I want you to throw more light on, sir.
You have to be monitoring the projects, what everybody is doing, to make sure that is how you find the risk. So when something is not going the way it's supposed to be, then it's a risk. And that's what we have, is either you have what we call a risk register. So when a team member is not submitting deliverable, a deliverable is due today, and the deliverable is not submitted, that is a risk. So you need to be documented. And you must have a clear plan on how to manage such situations. So you need to understand why things are not happening the way it's supposed to be. So you have what we call risk register. That's what you use to capture risk. And you should be doing that on a weekly basis. You know, I said we in project we normally have what we call RAID meeting. RAID meeting is when we evaluate the overall health of the project, how healthy the project, and then identify areas we are having issues. And that is, we develop a risk plan, either how to manage the risk. Either you transfer the risk or you own the risk. But we are not going into detail because we have a topic for risk management in this. So we have reality TV. Bubu's reality TV. Okay.
Hey, good evening, sir.
You seem
Good evening, sir.
you don't remember your name again.
No, I do. Sir, you talked about the project management life cycle and you gave the steps in initiating the project. So I just want to know how this step lays a groundwork of successful project management throughout its life cycle. If you can throw more light on it.
How is lay successful? Okay, the life cycle is a breakdown.
How the steps lay the groundwork of a successful project throughout its life cycle.
What is groundwork of a successful?
Sir, I said you talked about project management life cycle, where you said the conception of an initiation to the project close. So I just want to know how it contributes to a successful project management throughout its life cycle.
How it contributes is that you follow, you can see that the life cycle is stages. Project is broken down into stages, manageable stages. So with that life cycle, you know what to do at every point in that project. You break the project into stages, and that different stages is what we call life cycle. Life cycle, when you are a student, is when you buying JAMB, when you're writing JAMB, getting admission in first year, second year. These are different life cycle. Say 4 years. So within year 2, you have courses. Year 3, different courses. These are different life cycle of your academic journey or your university academic journey, which is a big project in your life. So these are how everything is broken down, and you know what to do at every point, and you follow it. So that is in project. That's why what we have life cycle and break things down into life cycle to help us manage this project in bit by bit. So I will move to Olofu Clement, and this is where we're going to end for tonight.
All right. Good evening, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. So you know, here in Nigeria, most times I've seen a situation whereby, okay, let me go straight to the point and ask my question. As a project manager, how do you handle a situation whereby you're being asked to start up a project with your own finance? It happens most times in government parastatals. They will ask you to start up a project with your own finance.
Yeah, they are just deceiving you. You know, you don't do that. This is a pure scam. I've had serious cases of that. A friend of mine, they say just start. You don't do that in government or in public sector. All you need to do, you come up with a plan. Once the project is approved, that the project is going on, they will give you 25% what we call it payment to kickstart the project, and you use the 25% to start working on the project. So you know how much that 25%, that money for that 25%. At the end of that money, or that at the end of the 25% of that project, you come and give account the way you use that 25% of the money. If it's well duly accounted, then more fund, like another 25% will be released for you. And that's what you can't use their money. The government pay you upfront for you to, we call it mobilization fee, for you to start manage. So if anybody telling you to do that, they are scamming you, because if there is a change in government, those coming in might say, we are no longer interested in this project. And you start going to different churches for prayer while you are the person that brought calamity to yourself. So thank you. So my friend, if you are in that situation, quickly move away from that. You know, government, you don't, you have to cover. You need to protect yourself when you are doing working with government, public sectors, not Nigeria, everywhere around the world. That is the process. You are not richer than government. Even if you are richer than government, that is not the best practice. So you have to wait for mobilization fee before you can do anything. So thank you for participating, and I've tried as much as I can to address your questions. So please, I'm begging you, go to our page on Facebook and follow our page, because over time we are going to be, you know, having a live session where this kind of question, I will have a situation where you can bring questions, even a question that is not related to a topic, we can discuss it there. And other people following us on Facebook will benefit from what we are doing here. Because if you are bringing questions that is not related, I know a lot of you are working in different establishments. You want to come here, get knowledge where you are going to go to your workplace to apply. And you find out that even the topic that is not related to the particular topic, you want to bring it because you are looking for answer. So in a situation like this, we have to be, you know, handling it, maybe live session in our Facebook page, where I will come up, you come with any question in project management. At times we'll come with any question in business analysis, or so any kind of question in IT, or the trend of IT, or career advancement or development. So we'll have a situation, we'll be doing that. And equally, I would like a situation where after every topic we treated like this, I want to, you know, talk about it on Facebook on our page, where you have to comment, ask questions, how you feel about it, and I'll be following that feedback to know how we are going to be improving in our course materials, in our technologies. So these are things that we're going to be doing, and it's going to help me to help you. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Guys.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Good night. You all on
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
God bless
Good night,
you.
everybody. Good night. Good
That
night.
thing is not
Good
coming
night,
now.
everyone.